You think of your home as your safe space, right? Your sanctuary. But what if the very structure of your house is secretly making you sick? Today, we're going to dig into the hidden dangers that can lurk inside your walls, especially if you're one of the millions of people who struggle with allergies.
So, does this sound familiar? You feel fine when you're outside, but the second you walk through your own front door, the sneezing, the coughing, the itchy eyes, it all comes roaring back. Well, the problem might not be something you can just clean or dust away. It might actually be baked into the very bones of your house.
To really get what's going on, let's look at two different houses. On one side, you've got a house built all at once in 1978. It's a single, unified system. But on the other side, we have what we're calling a Frankenstein house. It's an older home from the 50s that had a new extension bolted on in the 80s. And that seam, right where those two different eras are stitched together, that's where all the trouble begins.
Yeah, the problems really start with these Frankenstein flaws. You can think of them like architectural weak points, and they create the absolute perfect breeding ground for hidden mold.
Okay, so flaw number one is probably the sneakiest of them all. It's called a thermal bridge. It forms right at that junction where the old part of the house smacks up against the new part, and it basically creates a superhighway for problems.
So here's what happens. There's this thing called interstitial condensation. The new part of the house, the 89 wing, it's well insulated, right? It holds on to warm, humid air. But when that warm air drifts over and hits the cold, uninsulated wall of the original 1950s house, bam, the moisture condenses. But here's the kicker. It doesn't happen on the surface where you can see it. It happens inside the wall cavity. This creates a non-stop source of dampness and mold that is completely hidden from view. You can't see it, and you definitely can't just wipe it away.
The second big flaw is usually lurking right over your head. It's the roof valley trap. You know that channel that gets created where the two different roof sections meet? That's it.
And check out this quote from our source material. It just shows you how delicate this whole setup is. All it takes is a small clump of leaves to create a little dam. The water has nowhere to go, so it backs up, slides right under the tiles, and starts dripping straight into your ceiling, feeding that same hidden damp problem we were just talking about.
So you've got these structural flaws that are creating this constantly damp environment. But this isn't just about a little water damage. Oh no, this becomes a biological hazard. That dampness creates the perfect home for a nasty tag team of allergens that can make your life an absolute misery.
You see, a damp house doesn't just give you one problem to deal with. It gives you two. It creates the ideal conditions for both mold and dust mites to just explode in population. And this is exactly where that Frankenstein house turns into a total nightmare for anyone with allergies.
Let's look at our two culprits here. You've got dust mite allergies, which are triggered by proteins from the mites themselves. They absolutely love warm, humid places like your bed. Then you've got mold allergies. Those are triggered by fungal spores that thrive in any damp, poorly aired space, like inside a wall that's soaking wet from interstitial condensation. So the Frankenstein house, it's basically a luxury, all-inclusive resort for both of them.
Now, this is the really crucial part. Even though they're different triggers, they attack your body in very similar ways. Both of them make rhinitis worse. Both are linked to developing asthma. And this is the most important bit. When you're exposed to both at the same time, it creates what's called a cumulative immune load. Think about it. Your body is fighting a war on two separate fronts. Is it any wonder your symptoms feel so much worse inside a compromised house?
And look, this idea of a double danger isn't just a theory. Health authorities all over the world have specifically identified exactly who is most vulnerable when they're living in a damp, moldy home.
And who is right at the top of that list? Yep, people who already have allergic rhinitis and people with asthma. If that's you, these warnings from the top health experts on the planet are aimed directly at you.
The verdict from the world's leading health organizations couldn't be clearer. It's unanimous, and honestly, it's a pretty stark health warning.
First up, the World Health Organization. They do not mince words. They say that dampness leads directly to allergies, asthma, and something they call immune perturbation. That's a fancy way of saying a fundamental disruption to your immune system. Sound familiar? That's the cumulative load we were just talking about.
Over in the UK, the National Health Service actually puts numbers on it. They link mold to thousands of cases of asthma and chest infections every single year. Their advice is incredibly blunt. Allergic people must stay away.
And finally, here in the U.S., the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, confirms there is sufficient evidence linking indoor mold directly to worsening asthma in susceptible people. The global consensus is crystal clear.
So what is the single biggest takeaway from all of this? It's this. The problem isn't how old a house is. The danger comes from a lack of structural integrity. A well-built home, whether it's from 1920 or 2020, can be a safe place. But a house that's been stitched together can become an internal war zone.
And that really leaves us all with one final question to think about when it comes to our own homes. Is it working as a single unified system that's designed to protect you? Or are its different parts fighting a constant hidden war? A war that your immune system is ultimately paying the price for?